Welcome to Join the Dots. Now, yesterday's show I devoted to one particular issue and one particular new person to introduce to you, Jake Craver. And I've done a lot of research since yesterday to try and establish exactly Jake's credentials, if you like, because not that I suspect or distrust him, but just because I wanted to find out more about him. And I went into his site quite deeply. He has 97,000 subscribers, 60,000 views in a day, so it's a good site. It's an active site. And I found that he had done, obviously, the link I gave you yesterday was part 3. So there is a part 1 and part 2, and I will link those below so that you can catch up, as I have, with parts 1, 2 and 3. Now, I've said to you that I have a real feeling that the Japanese bond market will be the catalyst for this global crisis that I believe is coming. And that's where Jake is clearly. And the more I research it now, the more I think, goodness me, this is right. This is the catalyst. So I went into basics. I thought, okay, let's have a look at some basics about what's happening in Japan, because I can remember from 1989 when I was at Credit Suisse, and I can remember the euphoria over Japanese equities before they absolutely collapsed. The Nikkei fell from about 39,000 to 8. It fell 80%. 80%. Now that's the same figure that the likes of Greg Manarino foresee for the Dow. He sees the Dow at 8,000, gold at 8,000, silver 5 to 800. He has a passion for silver and I share it in this world. So when people say the stock market's going to collapse 80%, it's happened. It happened in Japan. It happened in 1989 through to 91, 2, whatever it was. It happened. So don't think it can't happen. It can. Okay. Now, I went into more research because things came at me, food came at me, and you think, well, where's the link with food? The link with food is inflation. And inflation is the thing that can destroy a bond market or a central bank's image, perception, ability to control things. And I started doing research, and everywhere I looked, I found more and more evidence that inflation, food inflation, is really hurting this world. In the UK at the moment it's 4% in food inflation. In the US, I told you the other day that beef was up 12% in a year. So I looked further and further, and then I found that in poorer countries, the rates of food inflation in May 23 reached 30% in low-income countries. And I thought, well, this gets worse. And I connected that to my 7 or 8 or 9 brilliant scientists through COVID who helped me see what was happening so clearly and have never been wrong. None of them have ever been wrong. They're just right, while the system is wrong. And to show that, I'm going to link below a video which was made, and it's very clever because it shows you, yes, it's the COVID period, and don't worry about that. Just take on board what the message is. The message is you will get told lies, more lies by the media. And then when the truth comes out, they will never correct themselves. They will never accept they were wrong. And they will never acknowledge you were right. And this isn't me, this is Donald Trump, would you believe? Because when COVID started, Donald Trump took on board the best scientific advice, not Dr. Fauci and his mob at the NIH and etc. And he predicted or proposed that the death rate would be well under 1%. Whereas the WHO, Tedros and his mob, said it would be 3.4%. And that was the number that the media ran with to create fear porn across the globe. 3.4%, 3.4%, 3.4%. In other words, 1 in every 30 people would die. The final statistic was 0.2%. But whoever acknowledged that Trump was right and the mass media mafia was totally wrong. They're never wrong, are they? They never acknowledge they're wrong. They just spew the same narrative over and over and over again. And the public, faced with that spew of narrative over and over again, eventually it sinks in and they think, oh, they're right. No, 0.2%. Trump said well under 1%. I think that's defined as 0.2, meets that definition. 3.4% was what every branch of the media said. Every non-honest scientific person said 3.4%. So we get to, I'm bringing it back to food now, because again, you have to understand that what you read in the media is not the truth. And it's only 4 or 5 years afterwards, it's proven it's not the truth, but they never apologise. They never restate the position. They never accept responsibility. Nor do central banks. There is a link. Okay, there is a link. Central banks don't accept responsibility. And what we're seeing across the world now is food inflation. And I went on to Reuters here, 30th of June 25, so just a month ago. Reuters did a survey on food in Japan. And 195 food makers with 2,105 items put in the calculation came to an increase of 15% inflation in Japan on food. Wow. And what did they say was the reason for this 15%? They said rising raw material, fair enough. Utility bills, transport, labour. Well, hold on. Utility bills, transport and labour, that's systemic inflation, isn't it? That's not a direct cause of food inflation. And it's not isolated to food inflation, is it? Because if you've got an increase in utility bills, transport and labour, you've got general inflation. So, what did they project? They projected coffee items would rise, listen to this, by between 25 and 55%. Cheese and milk prices would rise by 11%. This is in a country whose 30-year bond pays 3%. But that 3% is up from 0.5% just a few years ago. Can you see where we're headed? Japan is going through an incredibly inflation-driven price rise to the consumer. Do you hear it from the Bank of Japan? No, you won't. You'll hear it in 2030 when they explain why the bond market crashed. So there's an incredible link between food prices, and this is happening across the world. And I'll refer you to, you can go onto the X site on Twitter, X, however you remember it. Dr. Asim Malhotra, who was one of my 7 key scientists that I picked up very early on in the COVID episode, who is now appointed as an advisor to Robert Kennedy Jr. Yes, that's how good he is. He wins awards after awards after awards after awards. What for? Honesty. Honesty. And he talks about the obesity. I'm going to link this. As you know, I join the dots. So in America at the moment, it's projected that 75% of adults could suffer from obesity. 75%. At the moment, it's 20% of the entire population, but they feel it will rise to 40% if nothing changes. Why? Because they're not eating the right food, are they? Okay, and there's lots of reports coming out now about how exercise is good for you. Don't get me wrong, it's good for you, but it doesn't affect obesity. It's all about what you eat. another truth that's coming out. It's about what you eat. So if we're going to get the American population to change their food consumption into more effective, more efficient food, that's going to create another shortage across the world, isn't it? Because there's already a shortage. Japan's already suffering from 15% inflation. So here we're going to have to join dots slowly over the week or weeks ahead. But if you've got a country like Japan, which has 12 trillion of government bonds, and they've got food inflation of 15%, and they've got systemic inflation throughout the system, utilities, transport, labour. So it's not just the raw materials, it's not just the basic rice or whatever. It's endemic, pandemic of inflation in Japan. And then you have to join the dots back to what is going to happen as rates rise in Japan to counter this inflation, as rates have to rise in Japan to counter this inflation, and what happens to the carry trade. And that's what I showed you in yesterday's video, or Jake Craver did. Told you about the reversal of the carry trade and how it's going to have some lubricant in the system to help that massive move away from using the Japanese yen carry trade. Come back during the week and we'll visit this again. There are so many dots to join, but we're joining them. And I think the major catalyst will be, as I said very early on in this series of presentations, will be the Japanese bond market. Okay, so thank you very much, and join me for the rest of the week. We're over 1.1 thousand subscribers now. Please, please, please share, subscribe, get it out there. Let's get the truth to as many people as possible, because they're not going to hear it in the media. Thank you very much.